Act like nothing disturbs you anymore. 10 Principle of Personal Growth. In today's fast-paced world, it's so easy to get overwhelmed by distractions, negative emotions, and stress. It happens with all of us, right? Life throws challenges at us every day, and sometimes it feels like staying calm is impossible. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if you could get to a point where nothing, and I mean nothing, could disturb your peace? Sounds a bit like a superpower, right? Well, it's not just wishful thinking. It is something you can achieve by shifting your mindset and committing to personal growth. By following these 10 simple principles, you'll build the kind of inner strength that will help you keep calm, no matter what life throws at you. So, are you ready to unlock that power inside you? Ready to become the strongest version of yourself? Watch this video completely, because we are about to discuss 10 transformative principles of personal growth that can help you do exactly that. Principle 1. View obstacles as opportunities. Life, whether we like it or not, is full of obstacles. There's no getting around that. From the moment we wake up, there are challenges waiting for us. Some are small, like dealing with traffic or a missed deadline, and some are huge, things that shake us to our core. Now, most people see these obstacles as roadblocks. When something tough happens, they think, why me? They let it stop them in their tracks. But what if I told you there's a better way? What if, instead of seeing obstacles as something to avoid or fear, you start seeing them as opportunities? That's right. Every challenge you face is a chance for growth. And I'm not just talking about physical challenges or work-related problems. I'm talking about emotional and mental growth too. Life's difficulties are like weights at the gym. Sure, they're heavy and tough to lift, but with every rep, you get stronger. Every time life throws a challenge your way, it is giving you a chance to improve yourself, both mentally and emotionally. And this isn't just some modern idea. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said it perfectly. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think about that for a second. The thing that's blocking you, that is the way forward. It's not holding you back. It's helping you grow. Let me give you an example that might resonate with you. Think about Oprah Winfrey. Today, she's one of the most influential people in the world. But her journey wasn't easy. Oprah grew up in extreme poverty. She faced abuse, rejection, and countless setbacks. Many people in her position would have given up, and no one would have blamed them for it. But Oprah didn't let her hardships define her. Instead, she turned every single obstacle into a stepping stone. She used her struggles as fuel to push forward, to become better, stronger, and more resilient. And look where she is today, a global icon who inspires millions. Now think about your own life for a moment. The last time you faced a real challenge, how did you react? Did you let it crush you, or did you find a way to turn it into something positive? Did you see the opportunity hidden inside that difficulty, or did you let it hold you back? This is what personal growth is all about. Seeing life's obstacles not as something that stops you, but as something that helps you move forward. When you change how you view obstacles, you completely change how you approach life. Every challenge becomes an opportunity, every setback becomes a lesson, and every difficulty becomes a chance to grow stronger. So the next time life puts something tough in your way, remember this: that obstacle you're facing, it's not a roadblock. It's your way forward. Principle 2. Don't suffer imaginary pains. Let me tell you something that almost all of us are guilty of: suffering over things that haven't even happened yet. How many times have you found yourself worrying about something that never came to pass? Maybe it was a big presentation, a conversation you were dreading, or a situation where you feared the worst. But in the end, it didn't turn out nearly as bad as you imagined, right? Here's the thing. A lot of the pain and anxiety we experience isn't real. It's created by our own minds. We build these worst-case scenarios in our heads and suffer through them long before anything happens. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, nailed it when he said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that for a second. Most of the pain we feel comes from what we think might happen, not from what actually happens. Let me give you an example that might sound familiar. Imagine you have a big presentation at work. You've been thinking about it for days, maybe even weeks, and every time it crosses your mind, you feel your heart race, your palms sweat. You start imagining all the things that could go wrong. You'll forget your lines. You'll stumble over your words. You'll embarrass yourself in front of everyone. These thoughts play over and over in your mind until, by the time the day arrives, you're a bundle of nerves. But then something interesting happens. You step up to give your presentation, and you're fine. Maybe you even nail it. All that stress and anxiety you felt, it never needed to exist in the first place. The days you spent worrying, that was all imaginary pain. The reality, it wasn't nearly as bad as you made it out to be in your head. We do this all the time, don't we? We torture ourselves with thoughts about what could go wrong, instead of focusing on what's happening. And the truth is, this kind of imaginary suffering takes a real toll on our well-being. It drains our energy, affects our mood, and sometimes even stops us from doing the things we want or need to do. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. How many times in your life have you spent days, maybe even weeks, worrying about something that didn't even happen? How often have you let imaginary fears hold you back or make you feel stressed for no reason? Here's a question to ask yourself the next time you start feeling that familiar sense of anxiety creeping in. Is this happening, or is this just in my imagination? Because most of the time, you'll find that the thing you're afraid of isn't real. It's just a story you're telling yourself. And once you realize that, you can stop giving power to these imaginary fears. So instead of letting your mind run wild with what ifs and worst-case scenarios, focus on what you can control, right here, right now. When you do that, you'll find that life becomes a lot lighter, a lot calmer, and a whole lot less stressful. The next time you catch yourself suffering from imaginary pains, remind yourself, you're only making it harder on yourself. Stay present. Focus on the reality of the situation, not the fantasy your mind is creating. Principle 3. Embrace impermanence. Do you know one thing that can bring you immense peace? And that is embracing impermanence. Now, this might sound heavy, but it's one of the most freeing concepts you can embrace in your life. You see, everything in life is temporary. Our successes, our failures, and even our emotions. They all come and go. Nothing stays the same forever. It's natural to want to hold on to the good things. Who doesn't want the happy moments, the great achievements, and the feelings of joy to last forever? But the truth is, just like the tough times, the good ones are fleeting too. And here's the key. When you accept that everything is temporary, you stop clinging to things that don't last. And when you do that, you allow yourself to move forward with peace instead of getting stuck in the past. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, put it beautifully when he said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." What he's getting at is this: what we perceive as permanent or solid is often just our perspective. But the reality is, everything in life changes, and that's perfectly fine. Think of it this way. Consider the changing of the seasons. Summer gives way to fall, and fall eventually turns into winter. Nothing in nature stays the same forever, and yet, we don't panic. When the leaves fall from the trees, or when the snow melts, we accept it. We know that each season has its own beauty, its own time to shine. and we know that it's all part of the natural cycle of life. Now think about how this idea of impermanence applies to your life. Maybe you're going through a rough patch right now. It feels overwhelming, like it will never end. But guess what? Just like the seasons change, so will this phase of your life. On the other hand, maybe you're experiencing something amazing, a new job, a new relationship, or a personal achievement, and you wish you could freeze time to make that moment last forever. But that's not how life works, is it? The beauty of life is in its constant motion, its ability to keep moving forward, even when we're not ready for it. Once you learn to embrace this concept of impermanence, you free yourself from the fear of change. You stop clinging to the past, and you stop fearing the future. Instead, you start appreciating the present moment for what it is, fleeting but precious. So let me ask you, how can you start accepting the changes in your life, whether they're big or small, and use them as opportunities for growth? Think about a recent change you've experienced. Did it scare you? Did you resist it? Now, imagine what would have happened if, instead of resisting, you leaned into it. You accepted it for what it was, temporary, and saw it as an opportunity to learn something new, to grow as a person. The truth is, when you embrace impermanence, life becomes a lot lighter. You stop holding on to things that no longer serve you, and you make space for new experiences, new lessons, and new joys. Change is inevitable, but suffering because of it isn't. Remember, life is like the seasons, always moving, always changing, and that's not something to fear, it's something to embrace. Principle 4. Master the art of detachment. One thing often misunderstood but incredibly powerful: mastering the art of detachment. When people hear the word detachment, they sometimes think it means being cold or indifferent, like you stop caring about things altogether. But that's not what detachment is about. Detachment is about letting go of the things you can't control and not letting them disturb your inner peace. It's about accepting that some things are simply beyond your reach, and that's okay. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "That which is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bees." What he's telling us here is simple. Holding on to things that harm your soul, that disturb your peace, does you no good. If something isn't serving you or the greater good, why cling to it? Think about it for a second. How many times have you been overly attached to the outcome of something? A job promotion, a relationship, a goal you had set for yourself. Maybe you put all your energy into that one thing, believing that if it didn't go your way, everything would fall apart. And then, when it didn't work out the way you wanted, you felt crushed. You felt like the world had betrayed you, like you were powerless. But here's the thing. Practicing detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about these things. It means you stop letting the outcome define you. It means focusing on what you can control, your actions, your thoughts, your attitude, and letting go of what you can't. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you've worked hard for a job promotion. You've put in the hours, gone above and beyond, and now you're waiting to hear the decision. But here's the tricky part. Whether you get the promotion is no longer in your control. You've done your part. The decision is out of your hands. Now, if you're attached to the outcome, you'll spend the days leading up to the decision filled with anxiety. You'll constantly think, what if I don't get it? What will people think? Will all my hard work be for nothing? And if the answer isn't what you hoped for, that disappointment will hit you like a ton of bricks. But if you practice detachment, you approach the situation differently. You recognize that you've done your best, and whatever happens next is beyond your control. If you get the promotion, great. If not, you move forward, knowing that this one outcome doesn't define you. You remain at peace because you're not tied to the result. You're focused on what you can control: your effort, your attitude, and your reaction. Now think about a time in your own life when you were overly attached to something outside of your control. Maybe it was a relationship that didn't go the way you expected. Or maybe it was a material possession you lost, and it felt like part of your identity was tied up in that object. Whatever it was, holding on to something that's out of your hands often brings nothing but suffering. Detachment, on the other hand, frees you from that pain. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your own peace and well-being to let go of what you can't control. So, let me ask you, what are you holding on to right now that's outside your control? Maybe it's a situation at work, a relationship, or even a personal goal that's not planning out the way you planned. Whatever it is, ask yourself, how can I start letting go to find peace? When you master the art of detachment, you stop letting the uncontrollable things in life control you. And when you do that, you open space for true peace, freedom, and growth. Remember, it's not about giving up. It's about letting go of what doesn't serve your soul. Principle 5. Practice daily reflection. Now let's talk about something that might seem simple but can have a profound impact on your personal growth. Daily reflection. It's a tool that's been used by great thinkers throughout history, and it's incredibly powerful for one reason. It forces you to stop and look inward. In a world that's always pushing us to move faster, to get more done, reflection gives you the chance to pause, to take stock of your thoughts, actions, and feelings. And when you make reflection a habit, it can completely change the way you grow and develop as a person. The idea is simple. By reflecting on your day, every day, you give yourself the opportunity to improve. You look at what went well, what didn't, and how you can do better tomorrow. It's like giving yourself a roadmap for continuous growth. Each day, you learn a little more about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, and how to navigate the challenges that come your way. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, was a big believer in this practice. In fact, his Meditations is essentially a journal of his own reflections. In it, he asked himself questions like, what bad habit did you put into right today? Which fault did you take a stand against? By doing this, he held himself accountable, always striving to be a little better than he was the day before. Now picture yourself keeping a journal and spending just a few minutes each night reflecting on your day. You don't need to write pages and pages, just a few key points. What went well? What didn't? What did you do that you're proud of? And what could you have done better? Maybe you handled a difficult conversation at work with patience and calm, but you let your temper get the best of you with a loved one. By acknowledging these moments, you're not beating yourself up. You're giving yourself the chance to learn and grow. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're trying to work on your patience. Maybe today, you snapped at a coworker because you were frustrated. In your reflection, you recognize this as an area where you can improve. You think about what triggered that reaction and ask yourself how you can respond better next time. Now, because you've reflected on it, the next time you're in a similar situation, you're more aware. You catch yourself before you snap, and you handle the situation with more grace. It's a small improvement, but over time, these small improvements add up. Daily reflection isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about becoming more self-aware and learning from your experiences so that you can keep growing one day at a time. And the beauty of this practice is that it doesn't take much time. Just a few minutes at the end of each day can help you reset, refocus, and prepare for tomorrow with a clearer mind and a stronger sense of purpose. So, let me ask you this. How often do you take the time to reflect on your actions? What do you think about what you did well today and what you could do better tomorrow? If you haven't already done this, start small. Grab a notebook or even just use your phone, and before you go to bed, write down a few thoughts about your day. What went well? What could you improve on? Reflection is like holding a mirror up to your own behavior. It shows you where you've been and it helps you decide where you want to go next. And the more you do it, the more self-aware and intentional you become about your actions. So tonight, before you go to sleep, ask yourself, what's one thing I did well today? And what's one thing I can do better tomorrow? Start there and watch how this simple practice can change your life. Principle 6. Cultivate inner peace. Let's talk about a principle that might seem elusive, but it's something everyone craves: inner peace. We all want to feel calm and centered, especially when life gets chaotic. But here's the truth. Inner peace isn't something that just magically happens. It's not like one day you'll wake up and suddenly all your stress, worries, and frustrations will disappear. No, inner peace requires conscious effort. It's something you cultivate over time, like a garden you tend to daily. Now, you might be thinking, but how do I cultivate inner peace when everything around me feels out of control? The answer lies in accepting what you can't control and focusing on how you respond. Life is unpredictable. There will always be things happening around you that you can't change, whether it's a difficult person, a stressful situation at work, or an unexpected setback. But the key to inner peace is realizing that while you can't control those things, you can control how you respond to them. Jesus spoke to this when he said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." His words emphasize the importance of finding peace through faith and calm, of letting go of the burdens you can't carry alone. In a similar way, when you accept the things outside your control and focus on what's within your power, your attitude, your perspective, your actions, you find a sense of calm, even in the most stressful situations. Let me give you a visual that might help. Imagine a serene lake. On the surface, the water can be rough. There might be storms, waves, wind. But deep below the surface, the water is still calm, unaffected by the chaos above. Your inner self can be just like that lake. Even when things on the surface of your life feel stormy and chaotic, you can cultivate a sense of peace deep within. It takes practice, but it's possible. So how do you start cultivating inner peace? It's about making small, conscious choices each day. Maybe it's starting your day with a few minutes of meditation, where you focus on your breath and let go of any worries that are trying to take over your mind. Or maybe it's through prayer, where you release your burdens and trust in something greater than yourself. Reflection can also help. You might spend a few moments each day thinking about what's troubling you and consciously deciding to focus on what you can control. Let me share an example. Imagine you're at work and suddenly you're hit with an unexpected deadline. Your first instinct might be to panic, to feel overwhelmed. But what if, instead of reacting immediately, you took a deep breath and reminded yourself of the things you can control? You can't change the deadline, but you can control how you approach it. You can break the task into manageable steps, focus on what's most important, and stay calm through the process. In doing so, you protect your inner peace instead of letting the situation disturb you. Inner peace isn't about avoiding stress or difficult situations. It's about learning how to navigate through them without letting them shake you to your core. It's about creating a steady foundation within yourself that remains solid, no matter what's happening around you. So, here's my question for you. How can you start each day by cultivating inner peace? Maybe it's through meditation, prayer, or taking a few moments to reflect on what's within your control. Whatever it is, find a practice that works for you and make it a part of your daily routine. Remember, inner peace isn't something you'll find outside yourself. It's something you create, one choice at a time. Principle 7. Develop resilience through adversity. Now, let's talk about something we all face at one point or another: adversity. It's a fact of life. Hardships are going to come your way. There's no avoiding that. But here's where the real opportunity lies. Resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something that's built, and it's built by facing and overcoming these challenges. Think about it. Every time you go through a tough situation, a loss, a failure, or maybe even a health issue, you come out on the other side stronger, even if you don't realize it at first. That's resilience in action. It's your ability to keep moving forward, to learn from what happened, and to be better prepared for whatever life throws at you next. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of the Holocaust, once said, "In the face of unavoidable suffering, we can find meaning and thereby endure anything." Now, think about that for a second. Frankl went through unimaginable suffering, yet he found a way to not only survive, but also to grow from it. He found meaning in his suffering, and that gave him the strength to endure. That's resilience. It's not about never struggling or never feeling pain. It's about how you respond to that pain. So, let me ask you this. Can you think of a time when you faced a major challenge in your life? Maybe it was the loss of a loved one, a personal failure that left you feeling defeated, or perhaps a health issue that made everything feel overwhelming. It might have seemed impossible at the time, but looking back now, do you realize that you came out of it stronger? Maybe you learned something about yourself, or maybe you developed a new perspective on life. Whatever it was, that experience helped shape the person you are today. And that's how resilience works. Each difficulty, each hardship, is a stepping stone to personal growth. It's like going to the gym. Every time you lift a heavy weight, your muscles break down a little, but they rebuild stronger. So the next time you lift, you're better equipped to handle it. Life works the same way. Each challenge might break you down a little, but when you rebuild, you're stronger, more resilient, and more prepared for what's next. Now let's be honest. When you're in the middle of adversity, it's hard to see this. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to think, why is this happening to me? But the key to resilience is shifting that mindset. Instead of asking, why is this happening? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or, how can I grow from this? It's not about minimizing the pain or pretending everything is okay. It's about finding strength within yourself, even in the darkest moments. Think about the adversity you might be facing right now. Maybe you're going through a tough time at work, struggling in a relationship, or dealing with personal setbacks. It's hard, no doubt about it. But here's the thing. This challenge is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity to build your resilience, to learn something new about yourself, and to develop the strength to handle even bigger challenges in the future. So, let me ask you, what adversity are you facing right now, and how can you use it to develop your inner strength? Reflect on that. Think about how you've handled tough situations in their past, and how those experiences shaped who you are today. You made it through then, and you'll make it through now. Resilience isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about facing them head on, knowing that with each hardship, you're building the strength to handle whatever comes next. Principle 8. Don't create your upsets. Let's move on to something that a lot of us do without even realizing it, creating our own upsets. Now, I know it's not easy to admit, but many of the problems we face are self-created. That's right. It's not always the situation itself that's the problem. It's how we react to it that causes the real trouble. Think about it. How many times have you let a minor inconvenience completely ruin your day? Maybe someone made a rude comment, you got stuck in traffic, or you spilled coffee on your shirt just before an important meeting. It's frustrating, sure, but did getting upset about it really help? Or did it just make things worse? Jesus gave us some timeless advice when he said, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." He's reminding us not to create unnecessary stress in our lives by worrying about things that are out of our control, or by blowing small problems out of proportion. Here's the thing. Life is full of little annoyances. Every day, you're going to encounter things that don't go your way. But here's the truth. Most of these things are small. They're inconveniences, not catastrophes. But when we react emotionally, we turn these small issues into big problems. And that's where we create unnecessary stress for ourselves. Let me give you an example. Think about the last time you got upset over something small. Maybe someone made a snarky comment at work, or you were running late to a meeting. You felt the frustration rising inside you, and before you knew it, that minor issue turned into a full-blown source of stress. But here's the question. Did getting upset help? Did it make the comment go away? Did it make the traffic move faster? Or did it just make you feel worse? When we react emotionally to these little inconveniences, we're not solving the problem. We're just making ourselves more upset. And in the end, we're the ones who suffer. We allow these small issues to rob us of our peace, even though they really don't deserve that much attention. So how do we stop creating our own upsets? The key is to pause and ask yourself a simple question. Is this worth getting upset about? When you're faced with a minor inconvenience, instead of immediately reacting, take a step back. Breathe. Think about whether this situation is going to matter in an hour, a day, or a week. Most of the time, the answer is no. When you put things into perspective, you realize that many of the things we get upset about are just not that important in the grand scheme of things. Imagine the kind of peace you could cultivate in your life if you stopped reacting emotionally to every little thing that goes wrong. Think about how much lighter and calmer you'd feel if you let the small stuff roll off your back. Not only would you be less stressed, but you'd also have more mental and emotional energy to focus on the things that do matter. So, here's my question for you. How can you stop overreacting to small things and focus on what truly matters? Take a moment to think about the last time you let a minor inconvenience get the best of you. Now, imagine how different the situation would have been if you had just paused, taken a breath, and let it go. Remember, most of the stress we feel is self-inflicted. When you stop creating your own upsets, you open yourself up to a life of greater peace and clarity. Principle 9. Focus on the how, not the what. Let's dive into something that's incredibly important for anyone striving for success. Focusing on the how, not the what. Now, when we think about success, most of us tend to focus on the end goal. We get so wrapped up in where we want to be that we lose sight of the journey itself. But here's the thing. Real success isn't just about reaching the destination. It's about how you get there. It's easy to fixate on the outcome. We want a promotion, a degree, a big win. And when we put all our attention on that result, it creates pressure. We start to think, what if I don't make it? What if I fail? But when we shift our focus to how we're handling each step along the way, something incredible happens. We regain control. We stop obsessing over the future and start paying attention to what we're doing right now. Jesus said, "The wise man builds his house on the rock." This isn't just a metaphor about foundations. It's about wisdom. It's about building your life on steady, solid actions, not on fleeting emotions or the ups and downs of external circumstances. When you focus on how you handle each situation, you're building that solid foundation, one brick at a time. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you're preparing for a big exam. If all you're thinking about is the result, whether you'll pass, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. The pressure builds, and that stress can hurt your performance. But if you shift your focus to how you're preparing, how well you're studying, how organized you are, you start to feel more in control. You realize that you're doing everything you can in the present moment, and that's what truly matters. The result? You study better, you think more clearly, and your stress levels drop. This principle applies to so many areas of life. Whether it's your career, your relationships, or even your personal goals, the key to peace and clarity is focusing on the process, not the outcome. It's not about whether you get that dream job, but how well you prepare for the interview. It's not about whether your relationship turns out perfectly, but how you show up every day and put in the effort to communicate and grow. When you focus on the how, you give yourself permission to let go of the anxiety that comes with uncertainty. You stop worrying about things that are beyond your control and start paying attention to what you can control: your actions, your mindset, your effort. And here's the beautiful part. When you focus on the process, the results often take care of themselves. So, here's a question for you. How can you shift your focus from the outcome to your actions? Today, think about something you're working toward right now. Maybe it's a goal at work, or maybe it's a personal project. Instead of stressing about whether you'll succeed, ask yourself, how can I handle today in a way that moves me closer to that goal? When you do this, you'll find that the pressure lifts. You'll start to feel more grounded, more present, and more in control of your own journey. Remember, success isn't just about what you achieve, it's about how you achieve it. By focusing on the how, you'll not only find more peace and clarity, but you'll also enjoy the journey a whole lot more. Principle 10. Prioritize rationality over emotions. Now, for our final principle, prioritizing rationality over emotions. This is one of the most important lessons for anyone looking to cultivate personal growth and inner peace. We've all been there. Those moments when emotions take over. Whether it's anger, frustration, or even excitement, emotions can sometimes cloud our judgment and lead us to make decisions we regret. It's so easy to let emotions run the show, especially in times of stress or conflict. But here's the thing. When we let emotions dictate our actions, we often end up making decisions we wish we could take back. That's why learning to pause, take a breath, and let reason take the lead is such a powerful tool. When you can approach situations rationally, you'll make wiser, more thoughtful choices that align with your long-term goals and values. Jesus illustrated this principle when he said, "The wise man builds his house on the rock." In other words, when we base our decisions on reason, on a solid foundation, they stand the test of time. Emotions, on the other hand, are like building your house on shifting sand. They're unpredictable, unstable, and they can lead to decisions that crumble under pressure. Let's bring this idea to life with an example. Think about a time when you were angry. Maybe someone said something hurtful, or you felt disrespected. In the heat of the moment, you might have said something back, something you didn't really mean. But once the emotion settled, you probably regretted it. If you had paused for just a moment, taken a step back and thought rationally about the situation, you might have responded differently. Maybe you would have chosen your words more carefully or decided that saying nothing at all was the best option. This is the power of prioritizing rationality. It gives you the space to think clearly and make decisions that you won't regret later. It's not about ignoring your emotions. Emotions are valid, and they often tell us important things about ourselves. But it's about not letting those emotions control your actions. Instead, you let reason guide you. So the next time you're in a situation where emotions are running high, try this. Pause. Before you say or do anything, take a moment to breathe and think. Ask yourself, what's the most rational, constructive way I can respond to this? When you give yourself that space, you'll find that your emotions start to calm down, and you're able to decide that's grounded in reason, not just a knee-jerk reaction. This principle applies to so many areas of life. It's easy to get swept up in the emotion of the moment, whether it's frustration at work, tension in a relationship, or even excitement about a big opportunity. But by learning to pause and think things through, you create a solid foundation for better choices. So, Here's my final question for you. The next time you're feeling emotional, how can you pause and let reason guide your decision? Think about a situation where your emotions got the best of you. How might things have turned out differently if you had taken a moment to reflect? First, remember, building your house on the rock of rationality means that no matter how stormy things get, your foundation remains solid. Emotions will come and go, but decisions made with reason will stand the test of time. So, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored 10 powerful principles that can truly transform the way you live your life. Everything from seeing obstacles as opportunities, to embracing the idea of impermanence, to mastering the art of detachment. We've talked about the importance of daily reflection, cultivating inner peace, and learning to build resilience through adversity. And of course, we've touched on the importance of not creating your own upsets, focusing on the how rather than the what, and prioritizing rationality over emotions. By mastering these principles, you're setting yourself up to cultivate resilience, inner peace, and personal growth. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about making small, intentional changes that add up over time and help you build a life that feels more grounded, more peaceful, and more in your control. Now here's the question. Are you ready to apply these principles in your life? I'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments which principle resonated with you the most and how you plan to integrate it into your daily routine. Is it focusing on daily reflection, letting go of things you can't control? Or maybe it's learning to view challenges as opportunities for growth. Whatever it is, share your thoughts with us. We'd love to keep this conversation going. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who you think could benefit from these principles of personal growth. The journey to personal growth and inner peace is one we're all on together. And the more we share these insights, the more we help each other grow. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.